So, the main character of any story is very important, and doing a good job in writing them can mean the difference between success and failure for a series. No matter what it is, a movie, a book, a show, a play, anything. The main character is normally who the story revolves around and where it begins and ends respectively. Main characters in anime, for the most part, get a relatively fair rep, only being majorly criticized every here and there depending on the series, and the criticisms are usually they're too OP, or the plot surrounds them too much and the side characters don't get enough shine. Things like that. However, one instance where things are a little different is Asta from Black Clover. Asta has been one of the main sources of people's complaints and criticisms, and for a number of reasons, whether it's his motivations, his ability to negate magic, his obsession with Sister Lily, or his quote-unquote constant need to scream, among other things. And so, because of these stigmas surrounding his character, people have been quick to hate on Black Clover and slander Asta both as a main character and a character period. Now, I can't tell you you're wrong for not liking him or finding things you don't like about him, but I happen to have my own opinion on the subject. I know, shocker, right? I just so happen to think that Asta is not only a good character, but a great, maybe even fantastic one. Okay, so first off, let's look at the complaints I mentioned earlier about Asta's character. He's ragged on for his motivation, which is to be the Wizard King, which we all know is the Black Clover equivalent of Hokage. Right off the bat, people call him uninspired, and they've done that since Black Clover first started, and even more haters hopped on the bandwagon with this criticism when the anime first aired. Apparently, it's not okay for a young boy to feel inspired and want to be something great. That never makes for great storytelling, right? But seriously, so many people say that this, along with a couple other things, makes him a Naruto clone. But it does not in the slightest. Asta is a vastly different character. He doesn't want to do anything in order to prove himself. It's for the sake of those he cares about, and to be an example to those who are told they can't follow their dreams. Not to say I don't love Naruto as a character, and maybe his motivations are a bit more relatable, but to say Asta's motivations are just like his is absolutely false, and sadly a common misconception in the anime community. Another thing people complain about is his ability to negate magic, the main source of power in the world of Black Clover and the very thing that society relies on to function. People say this makes him too overpowered and broken, and that he can overcome any obstacle with this power that was just magically given to him. Well, actually, on more than one occasion, this ability is proven to be not enough to save him from danger. Take the fight against Veto, for example. Even with his anti-magic and the help of Vanessa and Finral giving him better mobility, even after he laid down the hurt and used the power of Haruka Mirai, Veto got right back up and was about to kill him before Yami showed up and finished the job. This wasn't even 100 chapters in, and there was already a threat Asta couldn't defeat with his anti-magic. And honestly, we can go back even further and see another example of this in Patry. Now, yes, Asta did put Patry in a very compromising position with his Demon Slayer sword, but this is not the same thing as defeating him. In fact, it's quite the opposite. It's more like he almost inconvenienced him and put a damper on his plans to release his magic on the civilians of the Clover Kingdom. After that, there was Ladros, who Asta technically defeated with his anti-magic, but only due to very specific circumstances that allowed him to be victorious. Then there was Licht, who was so strong that Asta didn't even come close to standing a chance against him, with the same power that took down a Diamond Kingdom general powered up by an elemental spirit. And then there was Zagred, who wasn't just defeated by Asta. That entire fight was a team effort. Asta pretty much only delivered the finishing blow. And that's not because of his anti-magic, but because of the fact that he's arcane. And we all know that's a requirement to kill a devil. And if you still don't think Asta isn't as broken as everyone says he is, let's look at the most recent chapters of Black Clover, where Asta literally awoke the most powerful form he had ever obtained throughout the entire entirety of the series up to that point, went haywire and did not hold back, not even a little, and still got bodied to the point where he spent almost 5 whole chapters on the ground, not able to move. So no, Asta's anti-magic does not make him unstoppable, just strong enough to get the attention of the kingdom and prove his point to the world. Then there's his obsession with Sister Lily, the woman who practically raised him. Now, this is one thing I actually won't judge you for not liking. I find it hilarious in and of itself, but you don't have to. However, I don't feel this should be a deal breaker, and here's why. This is something for him to grow out of. I knew from the very beginning that this was not going to be permanent, and that someday he was going to get over Sister Lily and have his eyes set on someone else more special to him, someone who actually wants him back, someone he actually has a future with. So this is something that will eventually pass, and besides, she's barely on screen and she isn't mentioned a whole lot more often. So if this really irritates you that much, it's not an issue you'll have to worry about very often at all. In other words, it won't really affect your read-through of the series. I also feel it's a step in the right direction for these kinds of dynamics in Shonen. I hate comparing Black Clover to Naruto, but let's look at Naruto and Sakura from earlier on in the anime. Naruto would always flirt on Sakura and ask her out, and she'd either hit him or tell him no and to go away. And this continued on and on and on until he eventually grew out of her and became interested in Hinata, the one person who always wanted him. However, this wasn't handled perfectly because he and Sakura were the same age, and Naruto was a nice enough guy, which made her look like a word I'm not gonna say because I respect women. But on the other hand, with Asta and Sister Lily, it will obviously never work out between them. So there's no wondering how it'll turn out. We're not sitting and thinking, man, when is she gonna say yes to this man? Because we already know the answer. This means we can't be disappointed or surprised when he eventually moves on and becomes interested in someone else. In fact, we're waiting for it to happen, and I'm sure fans who stick with it up to that point will be cheering and celebrating when that time comes. Now, is it weird that this 15 to 16-year-old kid straight up proposes to this nun who's probably like 3 times his age on a regular basis? Yeah, it's a bit odd, but who cares? It's harmless and helps to consistently provide the series with laughs, even if not everyone finds it funny. And now, for the elephant in the room. Asta's screaming. This was the #1 complaint when the anime first dropped, and although it didn't bother me, I don't think anyone was wrong to find it annoying or unnecessary. However, I find the overabundance of screaming at the beginning to be kind of funny and a little endearing, but more than anything, it's a way for him to stop himself from being discouraged, because when Asta is quiet, his doubts and negative thoughts have a tendency to get to him and really bring him down. We've seen this a few times throughout the series, at the very beginning, then again in chapter 80. What does he do in these moments of sadness and self-doubt? He yells to psych himself out of it. It's not that he's just an annoying little brat for the sake of being annoying, he does it to protect himself from himself. That is just straight up excellent writing, and adds a lot of depth to Asta as a character. Now, I can understand if you just can't take it, but I do have good news for you. It almost completely calms down after a measly 10 episodes, and that may seem like a lot, but they'll pass by quickly, and in the grand scheme of things, it really isn't a lot. And finally, here's a bonus reason! I love the fact that he doesn't take shine away from anyone else. Most main characters become the prime focus of their story, and everyone else becomes severely less relevant or important to the plot, but not Asta. Yes, he's integral to the story, but Black Clover isn't just the Asta story. It's the story of the Black Bulls, the misfits of the Clover Kingdom, the outcasts, and how they'll rise up to greatness despite everyone telling them that they can't. Black Clover is a series known for giving its side characters and supporting cast the screen time they deserve and developing them consistently. Everyone gets a moment, or an arc, and if they haven't gotten one yet, we know they will. And they all have little moments as the story goes on. So yeah, that's all my reasoning as of now for why Asta is an amazing character, and why he gets way too much flack. Flack that is absolutely not deserved. If you enjoyed this video, let me know in the comments down below, and be sure to hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and slash that bell with your anti-magic sword. Also, shout out to Erica for editing this video. You did an incredible job. Give yourself a pat on the back. Thank you all so much for watching, and as always, I'll see you next time. Bye-bye!